Thank you all for having me, and I'm grateful for my team that's here. Derek, who is my tax guy, is what I refer to as a little bit more than my tax guy, but he is a big result that we were able to deliver a win. We have Yvette and also Catherine, who's been with me since pretty much I came to Congress, it seems like, but we're thankful for it. But you'll read a lot of stuff. And I kind of just want to be real with you all today to play out how things have progressed to the big accomplishment that we had last week. The very first committee hearing that I had as chairman of the Ways and Means Committee was in Petersburg, West Virginia, in Carol Miller's district. It was in a lumber yard where we heard from small business owners, working moms, coal miners of the state of America's economy in Appalachia. Then we went to Yukon, Oklahoma, to a barn, and we heard from farmers and ranchers, oil and gas producers, and small business owners. State of America's economy in the heartland. We then went to Peachtree City, Georgia, Drew Ferguson's district, to a factory where we heard from factory workers, small business owners, state of America's economy in the South. Those three hearings is what developed the three tax bills that we passed out of our committee in June. They were partisan tax bills, but everything that was in those three bills came from those three field hearings. Nothing in those bills came from anywhere else but those three field hearings. And we saw quickly that we're in a new type of Congress. We've seen 6 roll votes fell on the floor, which is something that typically never happens. And so a handful of members of Congress stopped that bill from ever being on the floor because they wanted a different provision because of state and local tax, SALT. And so I knew from that point on that if I was going to help deliver any wins for my conference as chairman of the Ways and Means Committee when it comes to tax, that I needed to work with Senator Wyden on the other side of the building. And since I became chairman, I started meeting with Senator Wyden, having lunch with him. Anytime a Democrat will buy you lunch, it's a good day. So, he can buy my lunch all the time, and he does. And I will say that I've enjoyed working with him. He's a constructive progressive. I'll say that, a constructive progressive. Our backgrounds are totally different. Senator Wyden and myself, totally different people that we represent, but we found some common ground. And for months, we've been trying to negotiate this package. A lot of people didn't see it because we didn't do it in the press. We did it one-on-one. And it wasn't until like 2 weeks before Christmas, people was like, oh, there might be a tax package? But this was something that had been in the works that whole time. And the tax package that we brought forward, 84% of the House of Representatives voted for it. 84%. It's the most bipartisan tax package in decades. In decades. In the most divisive time in our country's history. And we were able to do it. Plus in an election year, which is even more difficult. And so hopefully we can get it through the Senate, because this is a really, really good bill. Everyone had to give and take. When we started out at the very beginning, Chairman Wyden wanted the American Rescue Plan child tax credit, which cost $120 billion a year. The package that we passed is $11 billion a year on the child tax credit. They wanted to eliminate the work requirements. They wanted monthly checks. We said no, it couldn't happen. And so we retained the work requirements. We indexed the child tax credit for inflation. It hasn't changed since 2017, being 2000. And we did that, and that was a request of Senator Crapo. Senator Crapo also asked that we lower it from $47 billion to $30 billion. That was his second request. The look-back period that's in the child tax credit, it originally was going to be 3 different years. Senator Crapo asked for us to make it 2 out of 3, and we did it. And so I say that because the Senate Republicans were part of the discussions the whole time. We just got to the point that we had to move forward. And Senator Crapo wasn't willing to go forward at that time. And so Wyden and I had to, because time is of the essence of getting this done. And I feel like that we have to take a risk and move forward. And that's in fact what we did. When you look at just the pro-growth, pro-worker tax policies that's in it, the 3 provisions of TCJA that expired, research and development, since it expired in 21, research and development is now a negative in the United States. And China has a 200% advantage over us. And we like to say in a bipartisan fashion all the time that we want to push back against the aggression of China. This is a very simple way to do it. Making sure our tax structure is significant enough that we promote research and development here. That provision alone will help support 21 million American jobs. It'll add more than $70 billion of investment. When you look at the interest deductibility provision, that will bring in 867,000 new jobs and $58 billion in increased take-home pay for the American worker. When you look at the 100% expensing provision, $400 billion investment, 73,000 new jobs just for this extension over these 3 years. And then that puts it on to the expiration of all the big issues in 2025. So they're all on the table at the same point. I think that's a huge win. When you look at all of the scoring, it's 6-1. Penn Wharton says it's 10-1 of the business economic growth to the individual. I feel like I negotiated well and found a very good common ground so that we could try to move this forward. When you look at the double taxation for Taiwan, that's in the bill. That's another sharpening our competitive edge with China. When you look at all the disaster tax relief, it affects 45 different states. It's huge. Even the small business individuals, the Section 179, that is one of only 2 things made permanent in this bill. And that helps small manufacturers and small businesses, farmers. We increased it from 1 million to 1.29 million index for inflation permanently. That's a huge win. All of these items help us with the baseline in 2025. When we're looking at $3.5 trillion worth of taxes that will expire if we do nothing. And I'll tell you, throughout this process, I learned more than you could possibly imagine in the last 6 weeks. And I think it's great preparation for whenever we have the Super Bowl of tax coming forward. But I want to praise not just our team on the Ways and Means Committee, but every Republican member and several Democrats. 15 Democrats. There was 3 that just went the wrong direction. But 40-3 out of our committee, you don't see. You really don't see. And think about this. The tax agreement was announced on a Tuesday morning. And 15 days later, by a vote of 84%, we sent it over to the United States Senate. And we had a week during there that was the recess week. I am super proud of my committee members who did a full court press with our other members of the conference and with downtown, with communications, and we were able to pull off something that no one said could ever happen. I don't know what the United States Senate does, but I can tell you what we did on the House side makes it easier for Crapo and Wyden, because you get 84% of the members of Congress who are closer to the people than senators to stand behind this with all the fake statements that we had to continue to play whack-a-mole. So I'm pretty proud of my team. I'm pretty proud of the committee. And this will be the most significant piece of legislation that will be signed into law this Congress. And so I'm glad that it came from the best committee in Congress. So be happy to take any questions if that is that what you want me to do, Jim?
Absolutely. Very
All
well.
right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
It seems that you were taking some arrows from the left and some arrows from the right. So sort of question, when you face those difficulties, other than your sheer force of will, what inspires you to keep moving, you know, in the face of some of those difficulties? And then also, favorite snack for Sunday?
I'll be at the Super Bowl, so it's whatever I can find there. But what keeps me motivated are people like Ashley Bachman, who owns Cheddar's Restaurant in Petersburg, West Virginia. Those people that came to the field hearing that told me of the issues that they were facing, and understand that this package that we crafted is for small businesses, is for farmers, is for working families. And that's probably why the Wall Street Journal doesn't like it so much, is because it's more focused on Main Street and not Wall Street. I'd love to have them behind us and on board, but it's okay if they're not. Because what I'm fighting for are for the people who sent me to Washington. And I said from my very first press release as becoming chairman of Ways and Means Committee that my priorities are small businesses, working families, and farmers. And it was interesting because I saw Politico and some other people do stories like downtown's in a tizzy because of the new chairman of the Ways and Means Committee. Its focus is small businesses, working families, and farmers. And so that is what drives me. That's why I'm here. I'm here to fight for the people in Southeast Missouri. It's the ninth poorest congressional district in the nation. Out of 435. 73,000 families in my district benefit from the child tax credit provisions. Think about that. Make sure you craft policy that benefits the people that send you to Washington. A lot of times that's why people exit Washington on their own free spirit. So I don't want to be one of those. But that's what drives me. And making sure my members succeed. When you look at this tax bill, out of the 43 members of my committee, and I'm putting the Democrats in it, only one of the 43 did not have a provision in this bill that they either sponsored or co-sponsored. There was a Lloyd Doggett, which he voted no. That may be why he voted no. I don't know. So, but 42 out of 43 had provisions in there. When I took over chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, by no means did anyone think that I was going to be Mr. Bipartisan. But we just delivered the largest win in Congress on a bipartisan fashion, with an overwhelming bipartisan vote, and I'm pretty proud of that. I'm proud of my team. I'm proud of my committee members.